Today I'm going to be creating resin coasters using my own homemade molds. I started with 2 store-bought agate coasters in different shapes so that I could have some variety to my coaster. I picked up this mold tray at Hobby Lobby. They come in different shapes and sizes, and I should have got a couple of them. I'm going to be using Alumilite Amazing Mold Rubber to create duplicates of my agate coasters. It's a 2-part mixture that you mix in a 10:1 ratio with a base and an activator. Affiliate links for all the products I use in this video will be included in this post. I combined my mixture, mixing well with a popsicle stick. I double-checked the cup of my activator just to make sure I got every last drop. Once my mixture had turned to a light pink color throughout, and making sure that my agate coaster was facing up in my mold, I poured my mold making material over the top of my coaster. For this project, I did not lubricate my mold or my coaster, and they released just fine. You'll want to make sure that your mold is sitting on a level surface so that the rubber can self-level and create an even mold. Recommended demold time is about 4 hours. I waited until the next morning. I used my fingers to work the rubber away from the clear mold and was able to pull my coaster right out. I did have a little bit of excess rubber on my mold, so just using a pair of scissors, I trimmed away the excess around the edge. Now I have a homemade mold ready to cast my own resin coasters that I can use over and over again. I'm using Alumilite clear cast resin mixed in a 1:1 ratio. The directions recommend stirring for about 4 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and speed this part up. I'm going to pour my resin mixture into 3 individual cups, just using disposable Dixie cups, so that I can start adding color into my resin. For my color, I'm using alumidust by Alumilite. This is a mica powder, and the colors I've chosen are black pearl, dark gold, and then I'm going to mix a blue and a green together for a custom teal. You'll notice it takes very little of my alumidust to color my resin, so I'm just taking a pinch of it onto this stick and adding it into each cup of my resin. I love that the alumidust powders allow me to create custom colors by mixing them together. Next, I poured my colored resin into my molds, and I chose to do it using a circular motion and let the colors run into each other a bit. I chose to keep my darker colors around the edges of my coasters. I made sure to pour every last bit of my resin just to ensure that my molds were completely full. I used a toothpick to move the resins into each other a little bit in my mold. This step is totally optional depending on the look you want to get. Once I liked my design, I took a butane torch and I hit the tops of my resin just to release any air bubbles. I came back 24 hours later and was able to release my resin from its mold really easily. Full cure time on this resin is up to 72 hours. I had a few stray bits of resin, so I just pulled those off with my fingers. Next, I used a metallic mousse by Dixie Belle Paint, which is a rich metallic gold pigment, just to mimic the look of electroplating along the edges of my coasters. I cleaned the underside of my coasters just to remove any residue from the cooking spray that I used to release them from the molds. Now I'm going to add some felt dots to the bottom just to protect any surface that I set them on. I added adhesive felt dots to the back of my coasters just to protect any surface I set them on. My final step on these was to take some Dixie Belle gator hide, which is a clear coat, and protect the gold mousse around the edges of my coasters. With this last step done, my coasters are done and ready for photographing. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and will give me a follow on my YouTube channel and Facebook at Brushed by Brandy.